is America becoming a weaker nation because of pot and internet abuse? Joining us from Washington, Mary Catherine Ham, Juan Williams, both the Fox News analysts. All right, Juan, now I'm generalizing here, but primarily the left embraces the drug culture to some extent. That goes back to the 60s Vietnam era. Traditionalist conservatives, a little bit more skeptical, although people like Mary Catherine are the exception, and they're kind of in that thing. So it's not a really black and white issue like Obamacare. There is some bleed over. But let's begin with the left. What is it about the drug culture, the internet culture, that's so compelling for some of them?
Well, I don't think it's compelling, but I think that if you start to arrest their children and give them records and put barriers in front of their futures and their careers, I think people say, wait a second, as you said in the previous segment, this is soft drug use. Why are you arresting and giving this kid a record? Especially minority kids, disproportionately, they're the ones who get arrested.
Only dealers, Juan. There's no mass arrest of users. No, they get a ticket, Juan. They get a ticket.
I don't think that's right, Bill. And I think lots of people...
Well, Bill, coming from someone who has been arrested for possession of tiny little amounts of marijuana, I know that you're full of shit. But my real question is, if your argument is that it's just a ticketable offense and nobody's really going after it, then why are you so against legalizing it so it can be taxed and regulated? That's my real question, dumbass.
Bill, and I think lots of people fear for their children. And by the way, you should know, it's not just liberals.
But you're thinking then people fear for their children, so they want to make drugs more available. Let's legalize them so they don't get a rap sheet.
I didn't say more.
And let's all keep in mind that that's the rap sheet that Bill O'Reilly claims that no one gets, because the cops aren't like pursuing like pot smokers, just regular people. He says they're only going after the dealers. But that's I guess okay. Going after the dealers is a good thing, but the cops don't go after the people they sell the pot to. I don't know what kind of world Bill O'Reilly is living in. But it's not the reality that I'm a part of.
I didn't say more available. I said, listen, a kid gets out there, the kid's involved with soft drugs by your own definition, gets arrested, suddenly record, all sorts of things that would inhibit his or her progress.
It's almost impossible. The records are expunged if they're juveniles. You know what the game is here.
This is not
a crime that is actively pursued by district attorneys. All right. I'm just going to discount that argument, Juan. Mary Catherine.
Okay. Bill O'Reilly must have been on the rag during this segment, because he goes after both of these people because they both give him totally rational, normal arguments, and they point out that Bill O'Reilly's arguments are no better for keeping pot illegal than they are for making alcohol illegal, for reinstating prohibition. They make decent points all throughout, which is usually the case, and Bill O'Reilly talks over them, interrupts them, and fucking talks down to them quite a bit. Watch the rest of this video. It's ridiculous. There's also a follow-up video. That's why this video is going to be so long. But you really have to just pay attention to the amount of idiocy that he puts on display here.
You're more sympathetic to this drug culture and internet culture world, but do you not see that it is going to weaken the country?
Yeah, look, I think anything that is not in moderation can be a problem. Does that mean it has to be outlawed? No.
Moderation for children? You think there's a moderation of using intoxicant?
Yeah, your parents. That's a good moderation that can jump in there and do something
moderation
about that.
is you use it once in a while. It's like a big jelly donut. You have one once in a while.
Right. Yeah, you can do that. When it comes to internet and pot, I use one of them for several hours a day, and I'm perfectly healthy. And look, I think when people look at this issue and they look at the drug war and they look at law enforcement and some of the issues that Juan brought up, they say, look, all right. Do we have a system that is working efficiently, that's treating people fairly? And they say no,
into the criminal
but it'd be a whole lot cooler if we did, and that's where we are.
And that's not the issue here.
Apparently, the legal justice area has nothing to do with the issue, the topic, which is the legalization of marijuana. The legal justice system doesn't have anything to do with the legalization of marijuana, right, Bill? No, since your arguments blow, you've got to switch it to what? Let's hear what it's really all about.
Mary Catherine, you've got a baby. You want that baby to be smoking pot? Is it a he or a she?
Oh,
is it he or she?
She, and I would rather she not smoke
When that
pot.
baby is 13, 14 years old, you want the baby to be smoking pot in moderation, do you?
That's the argument? That's what it's really about? Babies smoking pot? Or, I'm sorry, 13 and 14-year-olds. Since we don't want 13 and 14-year-olds smoking pot, we should keep it illegal. So if you don't want your 13 or 14-year-old drinking alcohol, you should make it illegal, right, Bill? How is it possible that we can have alcohol be legal and yet still regulate it so 13-year-olds can't drink it? I just don't get it. My name's Bill fucking O'Reilly. How the fuck do the tides work? And just for added fun, let's see Juan Williams' reaction to that argument a few times in a row.
I would rather not have her smoking weed, and I'm not a huge fan. But look, that doesn't mean it has to be illegal, though.
Why would you not want your child? No,
Bill,
answer my questions, Mary Catherine.
I'm answering the question by saying it doesn't have to be illegal because I can step in and handle things.
So
and
I'm going to say you don't want to answer. You don't want to engage.
Damaging than paternalism in a nanny state.
Mary Catherine, you're babbling. You don't want to engage in this conversation.
I'm saying clear words and making an argument to you.
You're babbling. I'll go back to Juan.
Oh my God, I love fucking Bill O'Reilly for all the wrong reasons. Just because he's such a fucking incompetent old dolt that thinks he knows everything. Thinks he just fucking has like a handle on everything. He's got like a highly rated show and there's a bunch of other idiots out there that listen to him, and so he thinks he knows what the fuck he's talking about. But he is so fucking lost. And he refuses to admit when he's fucking wrong, as you'll see later on in the follow-up video that they did with him and Mary Catherine Ham here. And she's making, this is one of the few times where I can agree with like everything she's saying. She's making perfectly valid fucking points, and Juan Williams agrees with her. This fair and balanced shit just got flopped against Bill O'Reilly. Bill O'Reilly's like on his back like, hey, this ain't fair. You're just blabbering. You're just blabbering. I'm going to move on to the other guy. So he was kicking my ass a little less. Let's try this again.
I asked Mary Catherine why she wouldn't want her 12 or 13-year-old child to use marijuana, whereupon Mary Catherine punted and started to talk about social issues in a general sense. Now I'm going to ask you, Juan, because you have children as well. You don't want them using pot 12 to 16, do you?
Of course not.
Why?
No, nobody would.
Why?
Because I think it's damaging, and even the studies have shown to their cognitive skills, because they're developing. Their minds are still developing. So they're still learning discipline and how to acquire skills and how to apply them.
You agree with me that a mass usage... Wait, Mary Catherine, wait.
Okay.
All right? So, Juan, you agree with me that a mass usage of a soft drug like marijuana is going to weaken the country. It's going to hurt children. You and I are on the same page there, right?
Won't somebody please agree with me? But here's the thing is, if anyone agrees with you, it's also a good argument against anything that inebriates anybody at any time. If you can become discombobulated by drinking some beers or some shots or some wine, all that should be illegal. Pain medication makes you loopy in the head. Fuck it, just deal with the pain. Otherwise, you're gonna ruin the country. Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, but I would say that too about alcohol. I don't want them smoking cigarettes.
Absolutely. I got no problem with that.
Well, see, Bill, it's obvious that you don't have a problem with cigarettes and alcohol. You don't mind those being legal and then regulated so that it's illegal for children to do them. Do you understand how that shit works? They're not just going to be like, okay, pot's legal, and then start selling it to fucking toddlers, you fucking moron. Yeah, every argument that you gave was just as good of an argument for keeping weed illegal as it is for making tobacco and alcohol illegal. And you don't even catch a buzz from tobacco. It's just bad for you. I mean, I smoke. I'm trying the e-cig shit, but, enough about me. Let's discuss how fucking retarded Bill O'Reilly is and doesn't seem to fucking grasp the arguments that are being thrown at him, and that his arguments back they can only be agreed with if they go to other areas such as alcohol. You fucking moron. Why don't you understand this? You should be doing every other show about bringing back fucking prohibition, because it's the downfall of America, and then we can be free just like some Islamic country that doesn't allow alcohol. You fucking idiot.
All right, Mary Catherine, what do you want to say?
I want to make the point that in the current regime, and if pot were legalized, under both regimes, it would be illegal for children. And arguably, it could be harder to get for children if it's regulated by the state. In fact, when I was in high school, people would buy weed because it was a lot easier to get than alcohol, which was a lot harder to get.
In our beginning stats coming in from Washington and Colorado just started this.
And we will find out much more.
That's getting blown out of the water. Blown out of the water. Children are able now.
What studies do you have on this already?
Like that. The stats are coming out. DUI is up in Washington State. Availability is up in Washington State. Use among school children is up in Washington State. So these are initial findings because everybody's studying.
And this is in Bill O'Reilly's head. You can see how it's working. It's like, oh, I know what I'm talking about. Oh, wait a second. I just got put in my fucking place by 2 people. Better have a comeback. Sound like I'm smart. You know, the initial studies show that everything I think is right and everything you think is wrong. What studies? The initial ones, you know, because everyone's studying it. Everyone. I don't know. The study. The one in my head. Durr. Fucking Bill O'Reilly. What a fucking joke.
Everybody's.
Let me just tell you.
We're going to find ways to deal with that in the future that we can apply to other states. They're laboratories of democracy. As they're
laboratories of democracy. All right, here we go. I got to go. I got to go.
All right.
All right. But if you guys want, we'll do it again next week. Maybe you can gather your thoughts and we'll continue. You go mano a mano with me. Your opening statement, please.
Well, a couple of things. I'm glad you pointed out that some 56 to 58% of Americans are pro-marijuana legalization. I stand with that majority of Americans, and also such radicals as William F. Buckley, who once said, look, my position on this should not be confused as somebody who is indifferent to drug use. I'm not, as William F. Buckley was not, especially with kids. I stand with you on that issue. But there are a couple other stats as well. First of all, when it comes to the drug war, some 80% of Americans plus, when polled about it, find that it's a failure. We spend huge amounts of money on it. 70+% of Americans are pro-medical marijuana legalization, and 70+% of even Texans in a very conservative state are pro-leniency for nonviolent drug offenders. We spend hundreds of billions of dollars since the DEA was formed on fighting this war. We incarcerate many people. We arrest 1.5 million, some, I think, 48% of them marijuana convictions, the majority of those for possession only. And people look at it and go, this is a cost-benefit analysis. Is what we are doing working? And many people disagree, and that's where I stand.
Well, you ran into the adult precincts very quickly. These are the stats from the White House.
That matters when you're talking about legalization.
It doesn't matter to me. I'll tell you why in a moment. 99.8% of federal prisoners sentenced for drug offenses were non-marijuana people. So that means only 0.2% in the federal system, okay?
Right, arrests are high, incarceration's low. You're correct.
Right. Very few people put it. So usually a summons, a traffic ticket.
Arrests are a little bigger deal, but
that's a big canard that doesn't. It's not truthful.
Well, the big canard here that's untruthful, you asshole, is that you're ignoring the freaking statistics for the states. You read off a federal statistic. The federal government doesn't get involved usually unless it's a big deal, and most of the big deals are considered to be like coke, heroin, meth, shit like that. Marijuana is less of a big deal on like the federal landscape. But what I'm not understanding is, if you're saying that nobody is getting arrested for it, Bill, and so it's a bad argument to say that people get arrested for having pot. All right, so you're saying that's a bad argument. Then why do you think it's a good argument to say that we shouldn't legalize it? If people don't go to jail for it, then why shouldn't we legalize it? Do you think that we rake in more money off of the fees and fines than we would if we just taxed it like we do with alcohol and cigarettes? You fucking idiot. I don't understand why you're so openly against the argument that people are imprisoned because of marijuana, but then also against the argument then that we should legalize it. Then you've got some kind of weird standard, and it's not working very well.
But arrests have serious social costs as well. I'll just put that out there.
The social costs of having legalized marijuana, as you'll see in Washington State and Colorado, will far outweigh the banning of it, because you're going to have a mass of people on the roads, causing problems there, school problems, employment problems, and on and on. This THC is a very powerful intoxicant. It's not a buzz, beer buzz. It's much, much more.
And how do you know that, Bill? Have you done your own study? You got like stoned and saw how it affected you, and then you drank a bunch of beers and saw how it affected you, and then I don't know. I'm curious as to how you know that alcohol is somehow less doesn't affect people as much as weed does. And you're like, oh, and the problem is people will be getting behind the wheel. Yeah, we call it a DUI. You fucking idiot. We already have laws against that. You fucking moron. I don't understand what your argument is. That, like, what? They legalize pot and then they also legalize people getting stoned to shit and, like, driving around? That's not how it works, you moron. Don't you know any fucking thing?
But I'm going to bring it back to what I brought it back last week when you and I had the shootout. You have a child now, all right?
Yes, who, by the way, did not sign up to be brought up on national TV in a drug discussion, but let's go ahead.
But if you're going to advocate the legalization of marijuana, then you're going to have to answer questions about children. And your child is, I'm sure you love her more than anything in the world. You don't want that child at age 13 to 17 to be using marijuana. I know you, and I know you don't want that.
I said that specifically last week.
That.
And you don't want them drinking, so make alcohol illegal. You fucking idiot, right? Because you can't regulate it. Parents don't have any kind of control, right, Bill? If they make pot legal, they're just the 13-year-olds, man. You gotta, well, what about the kids? The kids, won't somebody please think of the children?
So,
I said that.
Let's start there. You don't want that, okay?
Correct.
And that is the proper point of view. But by your stand, by your acceptance, because that's what this is, it becomes socially acceptable, and all the polls say that. The kids, the teenagers think it's more socially acceptable now than ever before in the history of this country.
Mainly because they figured out that the government's fucking lying to them, saying that this is a dangerous drug when it's never killed anybody. You know, they're being lied to. Getting stoned is kind of enjoyable. It's kind of relaxing, especially in these times when everything is so stressful and you've got constant like bullshit coming at you, like the O'Reilly fucking factor, right? But again, this is not an argument for any, like, alcohol. Alcohol is extremely accessible, you know, but you don't see Bill O'Reilly out there, you know, saying they should ban alcohol. This reminds, Bill O'Reilly's like a Christian, all right? And the Christian's like, it says in the Bible that being gay is wrong. It's an abomination. And then they go eat at Red Lobster, where it also says in the same fucking passage that eating shellfish is an abomination. And they're like, they go support Chick-fil-A, but they don't like picket Red Lobster. They use it for their own arguments and not, they don't take the argument to the base. They don't allow it to apply to everything, only to the specific thing they're talking about. That's what Bill O'Reilly's doing. He's saying these arguments are great against pot, but then they would also be great against alcohol, you fucking idiot. And his viewers, they would flip their lids if you tried to say, if Bill O'Reilly came out and said, bring back prohibition. At least a large number of them. Any of them that are not comatose and just happen to have Fox News on the fucking television.
And the use of marijuana is rising in all the high schools across the country. By the time your daughter gets to the teenage years, pot will be like chewing gum, smoking a cigarette. All right? That's what it's going to be.
You mean like alcohol, where everybody's like, man, I need a drink. And there's bars everywhere. And if you go to a restaurant and they don't have alcohol, you're like, fuck it, I'm not coming back to this restaurant, right? I mean, but alcohol is so fucking popular, and Bill O'Reilly has no problem with that. But if weed becomes popular and it becomes socially acceptable, oh, what about the moral fabric of America?
That is going to harm the fabric, the motivation, the everything of this. 1 in 6 teenagers now gets addicted to marijuana once they try it. That number is going to go to 3 to 6.
Yes. Okay.
And that's what's going to happen.
And you threw that statistic out there like it helped you. Like 1 in 6 kids that, you know, teenagers that try marijuana become addicted to it. Well, I'm sure that like 1 in 6 also get addicted to cigarettes, and 1 in 6 get addicted to alcohol or drink too often. You know, I mean, 1 in 6 that try it. So you're saying that 5 out of 6 people that try it don't become addicted to it. And you think that's an argument in your favor?
Go.
A couple things. I do not want my daughter, since we're talking about her, to maybe drink a bunch of alcohol or have a tattoo when she's a teenager. Those things are legal. They might be inadvisable for my child, but I do not necessarily think that they have to be illegal, especially if it takes billions of dollars to keep them illegal. Further, when it comes to alcohol and THC, I disagree with you fundamentally on the idea that I think people can enjoy marijuana and alcohol in moderation.
Right. Are we talking
as adults.
Children now?
Wait,
are we
no,
talking? Okay.
No.
Well, then why are you veering out of the
make,
children realm?
Because we're talking about legalization for adults.
Okay.
I clearly said that we're talking about children because when we make the argument about what it actually is, I lose. So we have to make it about something that it's not, which is children, which is why I keep bringing it back to this. And I'm saying you're veering off the subject when really I'm the one veering off the subject because I'm Bill O'Stupid motherfucking O'Reilly.
We're not talking about legalization for children.
See, this is what you did last week, and this is what you're doing again.
When I answered your question last week, that's exactly what I did last week.
Petty fogging the issue by taking out of the children realm into the adult realm. I clearly said if adults want to use it, I have no problem with it. And they shouldn't be bothered. I clearly said that. You dodge the children issue because you can't justify it.
Does it seem to anybody that I am dodging the children issue here? Does it seem like anyone's dodging any kind of issue except Bill O'Reilly, who's dodging the real issue of legalizing marijuana by saying, like, won't somebody think of the children? It's the same argument that could be made for fucking alcohol, you motherfucking idiot. I mean, I don't know how many times it can be said to you, and you just ignore it. You have demonstrated that you just don't give a shit. You absolutely think you're right. Oh, Bill, you can't explain the tides. Bill fucking you. Oh, my God. So embarrassing. It's embarrassing to watch you like this. And you're so smug about it. And you say that she's petty-fogging the issue when it's you petty-fogging the issue. You fucking piece of shit. You're just a dishonest fucking hack.
What happens is, yes, alcohol is a plague. More than 10% of American adults addicted. And children are drinking all over the place.
Would you like to prohibit it? Do you want to be a lady of temperance? Would you like to be a woman of temperance?
No. You want to add to an already bad problem by making another intoxicant socially acceptable.
You want to perpetuate a system that is already not working. Is it working properly right now, Bill?
If you're noticing that Bill O'Reilly is getting frustrated, it's because he is. He just basically agreed that alcohol is a huge social issue, a big problem, social problem. So we shouldn't legalize weed because it would add to the problem. But I guess that means that you're arguing that in order to solve the problem, we need to make it all illegal, which is why she just asked, are you a woman of temperance? She basically just called him a bitch. Oh my God. And the beginning of that where she's like, I just freaking answered the question. You asked me the question. I freaking answered it. I don't know why you're not accepting the answer and you don't like the answer. So you keep asking the question over and over.
What happens is, yes, alcohol,
which is, I guess, Bill O'Reilly style until the fucking clock runs out and they go cut to a commercial where they ask the, they're like, oh, we'll buy your gold for fucking pennies on the dollar. This shit is really becoming more entertaining as their audience becomes more aware and their guests don't agree with all their stupid bullshit. Fox News is getting better and better.
All you have to do is decriminalize marijuana and send the message to children in a heavy-duty way. This is not a good substance. We in this country are doing the opposite. We are saying it is okay. And you are part of the problem, Mary Catherine, but you will not acknowledge it.
Bill O'Reilly seems to be convinced that marijuana is like really dangerous. He might not have read those statistics that said marijuana has never killed anybody. Nobody has ever overdosed and died from marijuana. There are people who are allergic to it, but I don't know how you realize you're allergic to it unless you smoke it. And if you're around to say you're allergic to it, it must not have killed you. At the same time, alcohol kills thousands upon thousands every year. But your crusade is not against alcohol, it's against pot. So what you do is you put arguments that are just as good against alcohol against pot, and then ignore those arguments when they're brought up and shown to be the same arguments you could use to prohibit alcohol. It is fucking frustrating to have to reply. I mean, I basically said the same fucking thing for 20 some fucking minutes, and so did you. But at least we're clear now. You have no fucking clue what you're talking about. And I mean, I would like to say I know more than you, but that's really not saying much. That I can argue my points better, and that I'm more open-minded, and I can understand both sides of the argument. I could say that, like, I know more than Bill O'Reilly. I'm better at this than him. But that's really not saying much, is it? Because Bill O'Reilly's a dumb, stupid, motherfucking, I don't know, paid hack. I don't know if he's actually that dumb or just a douchebag. When you get old, you get a little senile. Maybe that's where he's at in his life.
You have a pretty daggone big platform. You can continue to say that.
I will.
And by the way, they're not legalizing it for children. It's just as illegal now as it was before. And Colorado has not fallen apart in 10 years of medical marijuana use. So we'll see what happens. I look forward to the studies, which you do not have yet.
All right. Mary Catherine Ham, everybody.
Cocktopus out. Hey guys, I've decided to sell some cock boxes. It's basically a box full of cool shit that I've collected over the years. I've got this, it's a Cocktopus coffin. You open it up, it's got a pair of Cocktopus shades inside. I've got a lot, you know, it'll include things like Chick tracts. I have a lot of books. We got the Origin of the Species 150th Anniversary Edition. That's special introduction with Ray Comfort. That's already pre-ripped out for you. All right, I've really taken care of you. I've got a lot of crazy shit that I've received in the mail over the years, weird stuff that from churches, from local churches, everything that I've accumulated, I've put together, and I think I can make about 4 or 5 of these cock boxes out of everything that I have. If you want more information, check the description below. Cocktopus out.